The maritime domain, a mystery to Army personnel everywhere. Throughout history, the Army has given little thought to this domain outside of a means of transportation. Traditional Army maritime operations have been about logistics and delivering troops from ship to shore for amphibious operations. But today, the Army is committing to putting on floaties and wading into the deep end of maritime operations. This is because tensions with the People's Republic of China is forcing the Army to think about how it can contribute to joint operations across the world's largest ocean, the Pacific. It's an ocean that covers approximately 30% of the Earth's surface, supports about 60% of the Earth's population, and has 60% of global trade run through it, but only has about 15% of the Earth's dry land. And most of that is either dense jungle or dense urban environments, so there's not a lot of places for the sweeping land campaigns armies are used to. Now, the Army could sit out any Pacific conflict and let the Navy and Air Force carry the day, but lessons learned in World War II and the complexities of counter A2AD operations means the Army needs to be a participant in joint Pacific operations and not just a passenger. The starting point for Army support to maritime operations has been and will always be defensive joint reception, staging, onward movement, and integration, or JRSO&I. This is accomplished through the Army Air and Missile Defense Commands and the Theater Sustainment Commands, AAMDC and TSCs respectively. But these only represent the idea of defending friendly assets from A2AD threats and don't include capabilities to suppress, neutralize, defeat, destroy, and disintegrate an adversary's A2AD capabilities. To that end, the Army is fielding offensive deterrence capabilities in the Strategic Mid-Range Fire System and the Long-Range Hypersonic Weapons Program, LRHW. Hello and welcome, I am your host, and this is 35 Fox Talks. Of all the domains, maritime is the hardest one to wrap our heads around. But if you're an Indo-PACOM aligned unit, it's your life, and Date Pacific is your jam. So let's dive right in. Navies, like air forces, are expensive. Their ships, subs, and planes are expensive to build, expensive to sustain, expensive to maintain, and even expensive to decommission. That's why most of the world doesn't maintain navies that can hold a candle to the United States. You see, there are two kinds of navies, far seas protection and near seas defense. The U.S. Navy represents far seas protection, while the People's Liberation Army Navy represents near seas defense. Far seas navies have large ocean-going ships with robust ship-based logistics that can sail almost non-stop across multiple oceans, conduct operations, and return to home port in a nearly self-sufficient manner. Near seas navies are designed to sail into the open ocean, but stop at the limits of land-based support. Near seas navies are about extending land-based A2AD by using ships, subs, and ship-based aviation to go far out into the ocean and deter adversary navies. They are not meant to get decisively engaged in pitched naval battles. They are designed to be an ocean-based disruption zone. They defend territorial waters and degrade, or on a good day, defeat incoming naval blockades or amphibious assaults. The reason naval assets make for tremendous A2AD capabilities is because they can pack entire companies, battalions, or brigades of sensors and firepower into single integrated platforms. For example, all navies have guided missile destroyers. A single modern destroyer has dozens of ship-launched land attack cruise missiles, surface-to-air missiles, dozens of anti-ship missiles, torpedoes, large-caliber close-in weapon systems, large-caliber naval guns, multiple radars, sonars, multiple communication systems, infrared sensors, air-launched sensors, water-launched sensors, have hundreds of sailors for 24-hour operations, can move at 30-plus knots, which is about 34-plus miles an hour in the ocean, and can execute emissions control, EMCON, on its electronic systems to disappear in the vast ocean expanse. In essence, every ship is a micro A2AD network all by itself. Carriers add large fixed-wing capabilities, and submarines add the capabilities of stealth movement for ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, surveillance assets, and torpedoes. The formations employed by navies vary, but they all center around the surface action group concept. In short, two or more ships move together in a formation offering each other overlapping surveillance and weapons engagement zone coverage. These days, a typical SAG is 3 to 5 ships in a wedge formation or diamond formation that balances separation of ships with overlap of communications, weapons, or sensor ranges. Ships try to remain far enough away from each other to avoid being detected and engaged in one fell swoop, while also being able to communicate and quickly respond to each other's needs. This 3 to 5 ship SAG will typically have one capital ship or very large ship like a cruiser, 1 or 2 destroyers, 0 to 2 frigates, and an auxiliary supply ship. Next up from a SAG is a strike group, and up from that is a task force. And up from that, you get into the world of fleets. Formations like strike groups will have aircraft carriers and submarines with other surface ships, while task forces and fleets have multiple SAGs, subgroups, and strike groups. On a 2D map, this looks simple enough. Multiple ships grouped together and positioned on even and level, air quotes were used here, water-based terrain with overlapping fields of observation and fire. However, everything is deceptive. When you conduct battlefield geometry and 3D terrain analysis, you find the distances involved are dozens to hundreds of nautical miles, and there are islands, there is subsurface terrain, there are subsurface threats, there are air threats, and there is space-based observation and communication. There is also the curvature of the Earth, sea swells, rogue waves, thick clouds, high winds, hurricanes, and typhoons. All of this tells you that nearly every map is inaccurate because nothing is static, and few things are predictable. Ships and aircraft are always moving, unless in a port, that is, and subs are stupid hard to find until they shoot at you. Everyone changes speeds, everyone changes course, and everyone is trying not to sink. This means your sensor-to-shooter game needs to be on point, and for that, you're going to need some pretty good analysis. So, although not a component of A2AD that 35 Foxes are often thinking about, maritime platforms are an A2AD component the Army is smartly choosing not to ignore, and that is forcing the MOS to get smart and get smart fast. Until next time, stay safe, and God bless.